I was blown away that every morning at 6 a.m. he was saying, hey, when we're going to the gym? When we're going to the gym? He then went to the gym.
And he hit it hard. He hit the gym hard.
Yeah. It was just all so effortless. Absolutely mind-blowing compared to where he was in December when he attended, and also where he was in January.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Tim, how's it going, brother?
Very well indeed. Very, very well indeed. What about you?
I'm doing excellent, man. I'm doing excellent. Coming off the back of a great conversation that you and I just had. So those always fire me up before we hit the record button.
Ah, thank you. I love it. I love it when you say that. So there's something I want to bring to the table today in the hope that it's going to really help the listeners. So as you are aware, one of the men in the Brotherhood recently had a huge win. Just to set the scene for the listeners, he went to a business meeting in Dubai and he met with some people that he met with last year. And his business, he's in the souvenir business, and he provides different souvenirs to different outlets that can then brand themselves and obviously sell them to the tourists. Now, he showed the same collection to the same people last year, and the response he got last year was literally, don't call us, we'll call you.
You always hear that in the movies, right? You don't expect to hear that from somebody.
Yeah. He was blown away when he was telling me this. I was blown away when he was telling me this. Fast forward to this year, 2 weeks ago, he walks out of there with a deal for £68,000, and that deal for £68,000 is set to rise to £110,000 over the next few months. Now, this guy, he joined the program back in September, and he believed he had anxiety. He saw Mel's the thing that really grabbed his attention was Mel's Facebook Live in the Activation Method community about having a paralyzing presence. That kind of says it all. He had really built up a lot of anxiety in his life to the point where he put trackers on his dad's car to just know where his dad was going because he was really fearful that something was going to happen to him. He would have a headache and go to the doctors thinking he had a brain tumor. He'd then been hiding from going into work. He'd not been into work for 3 months. I could go on and on and on. The list was huge. So that was only in September of 2018. We are now in March of 2019. So it's been a 6-month journey for this particular man. And Doug, you've been working very closely with him, and obviously he's achieving some phenomenal results. So I want to dive into what you believe have been the biggest shifts with him. I'm going to share some of mine too, in the hope that the listeners here can really pick out some nuggets and implement them into their own lives as well.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I think it's important for the listeners to know that you gave a lot of pretense to what was going on, but I want to set the scene the way that I saw it so people can get it. Here we have a very intelligent business owner who had created essentially a story around his business that was really, blocking him in. So if you've ever had the feeling in business like you're, whatever you try to do, you're just not going anywhere. You wake up in the morning, you're tired, you don't feel energetic, you're not excited about going into the office, yet you do it anyway. You start taking courses, maybe it's courses on sales, the latest sales funnel, marketing, you're taking leadership training, whatever it may be. Yet no matter what you do, you don't seem to progress. And, despite the business meetings you're going to, the business doesn't grow anymore. And that's what was happening to this gentleman that you're talking about. And he made some amazing shifts. And so when I started working with him, this was post-activation method. I met him at the Alpha Reset, as I meet many of the men after they've already gone through intense training with the other coaches. And he'd already made some major paradigm shifts, right? He'd made some big distinctions in his life. And as you always hear me say, Tim, a business only grows as far as the mindset of the business owner. Now, of course, if they're surrounded by board members and a huge C-suite office that can carry them, that's a little different. But for most businesses, it's the business owner. The buck stops there, and it stops with their mindset. And that was what was happening for this guy. It's really hard for me not to say his name because I know him so well. He's just a great guy, phenomenal person, huge heart, very smart. And so for him, he was going through that kind of what I call, lethargic energy within his business. And what we worked on were the basics. And then some of the basics going back to the activation method and the alpha reset, some of the course materials, the foundation courses that we teach. And he'd gone through those, right? And he thought, hey, I'm done. I don't have to do those anymore, which is just not the case. It's analogous to going to the gym for 8 weeks, getting in shape, and then saying, you know what? That's it. I'm all done with my workouts. I don't have to ever work out again. That's just not the case. We're all on a journey. We're all going someplace. So to catch you up, where he's at and what we did, one of the things we really focused on was his morning routine. How do we start his day in such a manner that's, tailored to him, where he wakes up and he's able to push back on these old stories that he had? Right? He's reinforced these old stories, what I call stacking. He's stacked one belief upon another to where it's been for so many years, over decades at this point, that they've become part of him, part of his internal belief system. So what we did is we worked on rewiring that, the neuroplasticity in the brain. We really worked on rewiring that, starting with his morning routines, and then we gamified his life. So, Tim, as you know, what we do is we take the men out and we gamify different areas of their lives, like their health, their relationships, of course, their business, their wealth, and their self. And we gamified these areas so we'd have a holistic view, but we also wrapped them around the idea of his business, giving him more, unstoppable confidence, a sense of abundance around time, money, and freedom in his area. So he was able to attract the right people, resources, and opportunities into his life. And it was with that mindset work that we were doing, which included, for him, very devout with his religious faith. He happens to be a Muslim. And so making sure he was reading the Quran and going to prayer, and looking and starting with baby steps, chipping away at these, self-limiting beliefs that he didn't even know were there. Right. And that's the thing that, if anybody's listening to this going, well, that's not me. Well, guess what? He didn't know they were there. And most people don't until they actually have a chance to start chipping away at them and seeing what's lying beneath the surface. So we worked on his morning routines and really got those going. And once his morning routine started to pick up steam, he had more and more questions about business. Of course, he wanted strategies and tactics, but it was the mindset shifts that he started to have. And as he had these mindset shifts, Tim, as he started to see the playing field grow bigger, and bigger, he was able to actually see moves on the board, so to speak, in business ahead, right? He was now moving the chess pieces 3-4 steps ahead because he could see the plays coming out. And when we lead up, and I don't want to go into all the details, of course, I know you have a bunch of questions, but as we lead into it, to the Dubai trip, he was going back there, really with confidence, and he worked his routines going through there and his mindset. And when he walked in there, he was on fire. In fact, he did a little routine, and you heard the story, in the office right before he did his pitch to get himself into state, to remind himself of the powerful man that he is. We do an exercise within the activation method where we look at your shadow versus, the man that you truly are. And he was able to call forth himself, right? His real self. And in doing so, these people not only ordered, as you said, but they invited him to come back again because they want to buy more. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I remember him posting in the workplace community, before the meeting. He was sat there in Dubai, and one of the exercises that Arthur had him do was to start getting out into nature more and really be in nature and just sit there and be there and really observe and experience all the abundance and all the miracles around him. And I can remember him posting in the group, blown away by what he was seeing. Simple things, simple everyday things that have been there all along, but he just wasn't actually seeing them. Such as, he saw two little chicks hatching in a nest, and he was watching the bees fly about and the birds and how the trees were, and just simple things. But when you actually take time to sit and be with it, it had a profound impact on the level of abundance that he was then experiencing within his own life, which, I've not asked him this, but what I imagine happened as well. Then, going into the meeting and him really being able to command and ask for what he wanted, naturally, it feels like it's more of it's there, doesn't it? Because he's feeling more abundant anyway. Whereas on the flip side, when 12 months prior, when he was running on fumes and feeling empty and feeling scarce, asking for a big deal would have felt scarce because there wasn't enough. Whether it's abundance is abundance, isn't it? Whether it's money, love, health, whatever, it's all the same thing. It's just the same energy. So as you were working with him, Doug, and you were setting up some of his routines within the morning, there's two things I want to know more of. The gamifying, which I have a good idea, but I want the listeners to be able to digest this in the hope, well, maybe they're able to apply gamification to their own life, but that side of things. And I want to know more about the specifics of the morning routine that you would get him to do. Because I know that, he's just volunteered at the Alpha Reset we have just had in New Hampshire. And he was there 4 months prior. And on the morning, every morning, the guys are led through a workout. And in December, when he was there, he slept through every workout. Whereas this time, he was the one that was up at 6 a.m. being like, guys, when we go into the gym, like night and day. So what were some of the keys within his morning routine that you had him do, the specific exercises?
Yeah. So, first of all, as a Muslim, he has early morning prayer. And so we got him to commit to that because his faith is really important to him. And he was using excuses. Oh, I can't get out of bed. All the excuses a lot of us use when things aren't going right, And so that was one of the first things I had him do because his faith is so important to him. I wanted to use that to piggyback off these other ones. Now, we had him start with a practice of gratitude. It's a practice we have all the men actually do, is going into deep gratitude. This is not just, hey, I'm grateful for, all the money coming into my life. It's a much deeper practice of gratitude that has several steps to it. Then we also had him, because scarcity mindset was an issue that we, as coaches determined, we had him work on abundance, right? And abundance is such a funky word to me. It's almost tree huggery, for lack of a better description. But looking at the amplitude, all the stuff around him that was available. So as you mentioned, one of the coaches, Arthur, talks about nature. Well, he was supposed to go out and find abundance within nature. Abundance on his way to the mosque, abundance in his home, abundance in his business. So he was tasked to writing down and finding evidence for abundance in his everyday life. And as he did that, he started to make some big shifts. And then, of course, as you know, we also tasked him, he had to break a sweat, right? We went as far as making sure that he got a trainer, nutrition plan. We actually helped him pick the right trainer in his area and get it hired. So we really did a concierge for him there, made sure everything was on point with the person that he had. And we started looking at his relationships, Tim. We talk about, when scarcity or any mindset starts to creep in, depression or anything else, it bleeds into every area of our life. A lot of people, I hear this time and time again, I'm sure you do, I'm really, really good at, putting things in containers, right? This is my business container. This is my personal. It's all BS. It bleeds over. So we had him start really reaching out to friends, right? Reaching out to acquaintances, reaching out to people he hadn't talked to. These were all parts of his morning routine. Then, of course, we went into his diet. We went into, as soon as you get up, you got to hydrate. When you wake up in the morning, you are dehydrated. So drinking a glass of water immediately upon waking is going to hydrate your cells. It's going to get your body moving. It's also going to start some of the metabolism, the metabolic processes in your body. So these are some of the simple things that we had him do. And we've built on these over the time. It's only been, I guess, over the time, it's only been 3 months. But we keep building on these as they become habits. So they're habitual. They're ingrained in who he is. We start building upon these over the course of the year. And that's our plan that we've laid out for him.
Hey guys, I want to interrupt this episode because I want to talk to you about something important. We put together a case study on how almost 300 men have taken control of their lives. They're 4Xing their business revenues and they're having more connected and intimate sex, all without sacrificing their relationships or their health by using the activation method. Now, a lot of you have contacted us and they want to know how they're doing it. We put together this short 11-minute case study just for you so you can see how these entrepreneurs are achieving this level of success. To get this case study, all you have to do is go over to thepowerfulman.com/11. Yep, that's 11. And you can get the case study right now. All right, it's only 11 minutes and it's going to show you exactly how these men have done it. All right, let's get back to the episode.
It's amazing because when you surround yourself by other men that are beside you, before you, and beneath you. So what I mean by that is, this man in particular he has surrounded himself by certain men that have gone before him, i.e. me, you, and the other coaches. So that way we inspire him and he can learn from us. He's also surrounded himself by other men that are beside him, other men that are in the trenches, doing the work, committed to going where he's going. And what he's also done by volunteering at the Alpha Reset and getting involved with the men in the activation method, he's surrounded himself by men that are beneath him, which then holds him to a higher standard. And what's starting to happen, because he's surrounded by those three types of men as well, he's having a drip down effect, isn't it? The other men in the brotherhood are like, shit. But,
we stepped up.
He stepped up big time.
Standards.
Yeah, standards. He stepped up big time. It's the habits are really, ingraining and have ingrained in his daily routine. I was blown away that every morning at 6 a.m. he was saying, hey, when we're going to the gym? When we're going to the gym? He was up. He was ready. He then went to the gym.
And he hit hard. He hit the gym hard.
Smashed it in the gym. And, how he then to hold space for all the other men at the Alpha Reset as well during those 4 days. It was just all so effortless. It was amazing to see. Absolutely mind-blowing compared to where he was in December when he attended, and also where he was in January, when he came to the Brotherhood event in Windsor, didn't he? And that's where we sat him down. We were real with him because, like you said, he came out of the activation method thinking he'd made it. In his own words, after the Alpha Reset, I thought I'd made it. I didn't have to do any more work because he felt so great about himself. The Alpha Reset and the activation method is designed to set you free and to get you going. And like you said, you got to keep doing the reps and going to the gym. So when he came in January, I think it'd been about 3 or 4 weeks since he'd finished the Alpha Reset and been in the Brotherhood. He took his foot off the gas, didn't he? He wanted to go back to old habits and old ways. And that's where we were very real with him. And we told him it was unacceptable as being part of the Brotherhood. This is the standard that you have promised to play at, and you're not doing it right now.
Well, yeah, Tim, I'm going to pause you for 1 second here. And only because I'm just realizing how jaded you and I can be, because we see this happen so often. We're able to work with so many men. In his defense, he is the Alpha Reset and the activation method is a huge life change for these men. I mean, phenomenal. And so for all of these men, if that's all they did, their life would be changed forever. Their family's life would be changed forever. So in his defense, he had made such huge strides. And as I hear you talking, I'm agreeing with everything you're saying. And I'm going, wait a minute. Had I never seen or been through the program and seen hundreds of men going through it, I might think, it's just another program, which is not the case at all. He made monumental shifts in his marriage, in his business, all before going to the next level, which is the brotherhood. The brotherhood is like the pro leagues, right? It's, you start off just playing a sport. I'm going to call that the activation method, which is, higher than that. It's an accelerated program. It's really intense. And then coming out of that, he decided to get tapped for the pros. And that's where, we're very honest and real with them. So anyway, Tim, go ahead. I want to make sure that everybody understood the significance of those changes.
Yeah, thank you for that, because I totally see what you mean. But yeah, didn't he, Doug? He asked us to be firm with him. He entered the pro leagues and said, look, guys, I've done some great work, but, I want you to be firm with me in the brotherhood. So, okay.
Not a problem.
Yeah, so you've made some great changes. Kudos to you, life-changing changes completely. And, we've seen other men, Doug, that have gone through it. And it completely changes their whole world, their whole paradigm. And every guy always says they cannot unsee what they've seen. And choosing to then go to another level and step up requires you to play another level. Otherwise, what happens? You get relegated. And again, for this guy, like I said, it's only been 6 months. It's a tiny amount of time. He's, for decades, he has been building a certain story. Like you said at the beginning, he'd been building a certain story and stacking evidence for a certain story. It's only been 6 months. Compare that to decades. So yeah, great transformation in the alpha reset and activation method. Plateaued a little bit, then boom, went off again. And where he is now, to see his shedding weight, his habits, his business is flying, it's just phenomenal. It is absolutely inspires me. It really makes me look at my game and think, shit, how am I showing up? But it's great to be surrounded by guys like that, because, like I said, it inspires you, doesn't it?
You're the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And, I believe that to be true. And if you can add that, multiply that, maybe it's the product of the 10 people, it gets even bigger. And, the thing that he keeps saying over and over again, or at least he did coming out of this last alpha reset where he was volunteering, is the mantra that you brought up in Wales, which are, what are your standards? And that's definitely motivated me too, because when you look at it, what are your standards? What are you willing to tolerate? Right? And this goes right back to his Dubai, his sale, right? What are your standards for your mental state? What are your standards for your confidence? What are your standards for your relationships? What are your standards for the way you show up to your family? What are your standards for the way you show up at work? What are your standards for? Fill in the blank, right? And all of us as men get to look at that and list, what are our standards? What are they? And for him, again, he came in trying to solve a particular problem that he was facing, and he resonated with one of our coaches, Mel, you mentioned. But he's gotten so much more because he keeps raising his standards. And he's turned into just such a natural leader, and a leader of leaders, really, because you look at the guys in the Alpha Reset, they're all businessmen at the top of their game. And he stepped up and was leading them through a life transforming process. And I couldn't be more proud of him. Just an amazing man.
Yeah, I was speaking to another guy in the Brotherhood yesterday, and he brought this particular guy up to me. And this particular guy, was going up and down with his commitment levels, quite honestly. And then as soon as, he was hearing it's so hard not to say the names, isn't it? As soon as he heard what this other gentleman had achieved and also what he was creating, it completely inspired him. And sometimes, we wait until the tangible's there, i.e. the 6-figure deal, to then think, oh, actually, maybe there's something in this. So often can be the case. But, in terms of be, do, have, wait until the money's there to prove to you that it's time to do something. That's have, do, be, isn't it? And we hear that so often from the guys coming in. But this particular guy, has chosen, like you've said, to, just raise his standards and continue to adopt the be, do, have mentality that is so key to you living a really productive and fulfilling life, to any of us living a really productive and fulfilling life, where your business grows and your relationship flows. And you're finally fulfilled. It's absolutely key.
Absolutely. So, Tim, in wrapping up here for the men listening to this, when we look at this gentleman, and what he was able to do in such a short period of time. I mean, a true 10x, right? People talk about, I'm going to 10x my business, whatever. This guy actually did in one sale. A true 10x. It had to do with the mindset. So if I were to leave the listener, the man listening to this right now, what I would ask you is, where is your mindset, right? What level are you playing at, and what are your standards? So 3 questions here. What is your mindset? What level are you playing at, and what are your standards? And I'll also just throw in there the possibility of, if you don't have somebody helping you with your own optics, right? You're looking at your own blind spots. That is the first thing to get, right? It could be a coach, it could be a mentor, it could be going through a program like The Powerful Man. It's really up to you, but you need to find somebody to help you look at those blind spots where it's a safe place for you to be able to discover what they are. Because there's a reason they're blind spots, right? They're hidden from you for a very, very specific reason. I'll give you the cheat sheet. It's because it's fear-based. So you're naturally very hard for yourself to find them. So find somebody that can help you do that, and then set your standards and then continuously raise them.
I love it. I love it.
All right, Tim, I think that's a wrap. Until next time, we will see you guys over in the Activation Method group.
See you guys.